Another year is ending, ladies and gentlemen. 2021 is coming to a finish, and 2022 is just around the corner. I hope you guys had a wonderful year. I know all years has their ups and downs, but I really appreciate you guys being here with me on this channel for 2021. I usually like to make one of these videos every year where I can kind of reflect back a little bit, and I'm going to say it just one more time. I know you guys are sick of hearing it, but I like to look back to look forward. There it is. I got it off my chest. Last time I'm saying it this year. Gotta wait for next year now. But I've been thinking back a lot. I've been trying to think back of the experiences that I've had and just the lessons that I've learned. And I'm really fortunate that I have YouTube here because I was able to kind of go back into some of my videos, my earlier videos this year, and reflect back on some of the main events that happened. A lot of times, like I'll look back and I forget a lot. And I was thinking about this in the shower today. It was like, it's kind of like anime. When I watch anime, especially anime like that I really enjoy, I'll binge watch it in one night, the whole series. And then when the next day comes, I'll forget a lot that happened and just like what the story was all about even. But I remember just really liking it. And I feel like that's like life, is we binge life sometimes, is that when the world is just pushing us to go, 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 we're always on the move, always trying to achieve the next goal, the next step. We forget a lot on just what happened. What did we just experience? Being able to reflect back, I think, is so important to do. So I wanted to reflect back a little bit and just kind of tell you guys some of my experiences and what I've learned and what I thought was interesting. So I think the theme of this year, I'll say, was really trying to find myself, being able to grow internally, and I think solitude. I was really trying to achieve solitude in a way, and this feeling evolved throughout the year. I'll tell you that. So at the very start of the year, actually the very first video that I released on this channel of this year of 2021 was me taking a solo trip out to the mountains, into the cabins. I was trying to go find more solitude and just find myself out there a little bit more, get myself away from the noise and just see if I can really just recharge, because I was really struggling with 2020 actually. So I was trying to kind of restart myself a little bit. So I went out there and it was an incredible experience. I had a blast being out there. I just love the nature. And the thing that I think I took away the most from that trip was actually a poem that I found in the cabin. And I got it at just the right time, and I read it and it just hit me so right. It's a poem by Mary Oliver. If you don't mind, I want to read it really quick for you guys. It's called How I Go to the Woods. And this was just plastered in like a binder somewhere in the cabin. I just like found it randomly. So it's How I Go to the Woods by Mary Oliver. So it says, ordinarily I go to the woods alone, with not a single friend, for they are all smilers and talkers and therefore unsuitable. I don't really want to be witnessed talking to the catbirds or hugging the old black oak tree. I have my way of praying, as you no doubt have yours. Besides, when I am alone, I can become invisible. I can sit on the top of a dune as motionless as an upright of weeds until the foxes run by unconcerned. I can hear the almost unhearable sound of the roses singing. If you have ever gone to the woods with me, I must love you very much. And that was by Mary Oliver. When I read this poem at the start, I was really feeling a sense of comfort. I felt this comfort that other people felt what I was going through. I felt like this poem was really talking to me, saying that other people really love the feeling of being alone. I was like, oh man, that's awesome. I finally, someone understands me, right? And it just actually hit me a few days ago when I was reflecting back for this video a little bit on what happened, is that this feeling of comfort that other people feel what I feel, the enjoyment of being in solitude, it makes me feel less alone. It makes me feel less alone that other people enjoy being alone. And I was kind of being conflicted by this thought almost, is like, wait a second. Does that mean I really don't like being alone? That I was feeling so sad and down because I felt alone, feeling this feeling of being alone that I really enjoyed. So it's almost like I want other people. It brings me comfort that other people feel what I go through, that what I feel in a way. So it was interesting because it kind of almost rewound my whole train of thought. And then when I started thinking about other events that happened throughout this year, it started to make more sense. That it is not necessarily me needing to be alone. I don't think it's just me feeling like I can be my complete self. The feeling of being alone, because when you're alone, you can be yourself, right? Like that's kind of the time where you feel like you can let down your guard, be the most vulnerable, is when you're alone. And this is exactly what the poem was stating, as I missed the most important line is, if you have ever gone to the woods with me, I must love you very much. It's that feeling of being alone with someone else. That's a very special feeling. And I think I felt that. I have felt that for sure throughout my life with wonderful people that have come in and out of my life. So fast forward a few months after my cabin trip, and I decide to move out to Boulder. It's a city in Colorado, and it's kind of close to where I'm living. And right now, Boulder is getting hit with some really bad forest fires, so I hope that they're doing okay. If anyone is in Boulder, please stay safe, and I'm very sorry it's happening to you guys. But I moved to Boulder, a beautiful city, and I moved there because I've never experienced Boulder before, as well. I heard it's very close to the mountains and it's very naturous. And I really wanted to kind of explore that side of myself too, while trying to seek this independent feeling, this solitude. So it was interesting because when I went to Boulder, I didn't feel that solitude. I didn't feel that independence really. It didn't really click with me in that city. What I did feel though was just the strengthened bond for nature. I really got into hiking a lot more and just exploring out into the mountains, and I just loved the nature out there. And that part though did really amplify the feeling of being alone, being able to be independent while I'm out there in the wild. So that part was, I think, the most important part that I took away from living out in Boulder. And also during that time though, I got reconnected with a really good friend of mine named Weston. We actually weren't too good friends until this year, I would say, because we lost in contact over the years. I mean, I've known him since middle school, but we haven't talked in maybe 10, 15 years. I don't know. It's been so long since I've contacted Weston, but he randomly, came back into town, and he heard that I was living in Boulder, and he loves hiking. He's just an absolute mountain man. And I was I'm pretty new to hiking. I'm not that experienced, but I was getting myself into it. So he was dude, I need to go hiking with you. I need to take you hiking. So he took me on so many hikes this past year. And that was actually when he took me out backpacking. And I filmed that video where we went backpacking for 3 days out in the mountains. We camped up there and we hiked. And it was probably one of the best experiences that I've had in my life. Just that experience. That is what really just kind of woke me up a little bit was, look, this is someone that I barely know. And I can feel truly alone with this person. And I really felt like I was growing, and I was finding fulfillment on just being able to overcome these mountains and being able to hike while learning a lot about myself out there in nature. And I'm doing it with somebody, somebody that I barely even met, but we were kind of on that same wavelength, I would say, because he was really down into nature, and it's just a really respecting, I guess, relationship. So I really appreciated that. And that poem is starting to now kind of come into my mind some more, is, if you have ever gone to the woods with me, I must love you very much. And this started to kind of open up my mindset of maybe I don't really need to be completely alone. There's a good balance of it, but I feel like I can find myself still, give myself what I need without kind of being completely alone. So, after the backpacking trips, after all the hiking, I started saying, all right, you know what? Actually, I think I really want to start being around more people. So I decided to travel. I decided to take a road trip out and meet some friends out in the West Coast. And I talked about this. This was about my, I forgot what I titled the video, some 1,000-mile haircut or something, where I got my hair cut because I was growing out my hair really long. And I went out to the West Coast. I took a road trip out there, met some friends, and, a lot happened. I actually vlogged it. and I made a vlog, but I didn't release it. And I don't know if I will. I might release it later on after I kind of reflect more about it. But the trip was intense. It was life-changing. And I've talked about it already in a previous video, but I lost myself out there in the West Coast a bit, and I definitely lost myself. And I was going down some wrong paths, and, I was hanging around a lot of people, and like I felt like this wasn't who I was supposed to be. And I needed to come back home. I needed to come back to where I started. And it almost felt like a backtrack to me a little bit. But I will repeat one thing I talked about in the video, because this was probably one of the biggest lessons I learned from this trip that will stick with me, is that, I was driving through the mountains getting back home. I think I was in Utah trying to get back into Colorado border, and I was driving, and I saw the mountains, and I thought everything was fine. I was just driving hundreds of miles, and I turned my GPS off because it was just a straightaway of mountains, mountainous roads, and I was just going and going, and then all of a sudden, everything looked okay, and then I realized there's no mountains around me. My mountains are gone. And I turned my GPS on because I was like, wait a second, no, I'm supposed to be hitting the Rocky Mountains. I'm supposed to be getting into Colorado. And my GPS said I went 20 miles too far north. I was supposed to make a turn and go east, and I missed my turn east. So I was saying, oh, shoot, I really don't want to go back, because it was telling me to turn around to go back to 20 miles, or I could just continue straight forward, and it's a 4-hour extra trip. 4-hour detour, I guess, if I just kept going straight. Like I would go all the way up into Utah, like hit up in Idaho or something, and then, swing back down in Colorado. It was like 4 hours. In my mind, I was actually trying to justify that it was okay to just keep going straight. That it's all right, like maybe I haven't seen this part before, and I can drive an extra 4 hours, because it just disgusted me so much to turn around and backtrack just 20 miles, So I finally snapped out of it, and I was like, all right, I need to do this. So I just turned around. I backtracked the 20 miles, and I turned east, and I went back to Colorado, and I saved 4 hours, actually 3 hours and 40 minutes to be exact. But I was like, man, this was like my experience in California. I realized I lost my mountains while I was out there. I made a wrong turn somewhere in my life, and California was not the wrong turn that I made. This was when I just realized my mountains were gone. I made the wrong turn a long time ago, and it was time for me to backtrack a little bit of my life to try to get back on the path and get back onto what my path should be, what I want my path to be, because I think everyone has a different path, and everyone's, like I said, the destination is going to be the same, but how we get there, I think, is very important. It's the journey, it's the journey. So I wanted to just, I guess, be a little bit more true to myself and figure out where I went wrong. And I'm still trying to figure that out, to be honest. I'm still backtracking in a way, just trying to retrace my steps and kind of figure things out. But it's hard sometimes. It's hard to look back and go backwards, because the world is always trying to push us to go forward, move us forward, in a way. So it was tough, but it was one of my greatest, I think, learning experiences, and definitely needed. So that was interesting. And I came back home, and I grounded myself here, and just kind of really wanting to re-find my mountains. And it was so nice being back at home, because I got to spend more time with my mom and my dad, and my dad especially. I got to just experience and try to be more patient and understanding on those last months there, because I just experienced a lot of these things, and it kind of led me that, I was being a little bit too selfish, and my mindset, I think, was kind of taking things in some wrong areas at times, and I just wanted to be back at home with my parents. And yeah, then my dad passed. My dad passed in December, so I really appreciated that I got to spend those last months with him, for sure, with a bit of a lighter heart and a loving heart, I hope, for my father, because he knows that I was really trying to strive and be independent as well. He never really wanted to get in my way, so I really was thankful that I was in that kind of time of my life where I could appreciate just my parents a lot more. And then it was his time to go. So yeah, and I would talk about my dad too. That was a big event, but I feel like I just talked a lot about it in my recent videos. Just, I don't want to be repeating myself to you guys over and over. You guys might be getting tired of hearing about it, but yeah, I mean, for you guys that don't know, my dad passed away. I'll just say it quickly on December 1st from COVID. So I'm still recovering from that, but that was a big event that I'm still trying to process and I guess think about, what happened and what that means. But I think just reflecting back at this time, I've been realizing just a lot more about myself. I've been learning a lot about myself, and I couldn't have asked for more, just the opportunity to be able to learn and experience and love is just something that I hold so close to my heart. So I'm really thankful for that. And I'm thankful for you guys for being here, listening, if you guys made it this far even to this video. But that was kind of my reflection video. Did a lot of just kind of, I guess, exploring and self-growing. Of course, I was trying to maintain my YouTube and my streaming also here and there. I've been, falling in and out of it. But this coming year, I really want to focus on content creation. I feel like I say that every year, but I really do. I kind of want to try to push it and just see where it takes me. I want to, of course, just continue focusing on myself. Also, I don't want to get stuck in one mindset. The thing I think that happened with me last year that kind of hindered me a bit was I got so focused on I need to be alone. I need solitude. I need to be by myself. Then I started to, starting to learn throughout the year, starting to reflect back on these findings on maybe I don't, because we need people. We need to be able to lean on people, and I want people to lean on me. And it's just, we're in this together, and we're doing this together, this thing called life. So be loving out there, guys. Be loving to yourself. I hope you all have a wonderful start to the new year. Much love, one love. This has been DaBoki, and I'll be seeing you guys next year. Next year it is. Goodbye.